Happy Wednesday. Erin Coscarelli here. Episode brought to you by Gym Plus Coffee. So stoked to have such an awesome guest today. She is someone who I have admired for a really long time. She is a female sports broadcaster. Her name is Alex Curry. She is all over your TV, Fox Sports. She hosts like every single show. She worked for the Angels, and she's a SoCal native. And she has such a really cool story with her career. So I can't wait to have her on. I think she texted me, so hopefully we can get her on. You have to, let's see, did she hit a request? Oh, here we go. We're in. All right, let's see if this works. Technology and me, it's a dicey component. But hopefully she can jump in. There she is!
Yeah!
How are you?
I'm good. It's been a long time since I've done one of these and been on this side of the conversation. So,
isn't it hard? Okay, Alex Curry, she is one of the coolest humans on the face of the earth. You are so inspirational to me. And it's so funny because you're a sports broadcaster, and this is why I love this work, because I have admired you from afar. And then we make this whole thing happen, and then I connect with you, and I go, this is why I love doing this, because as if I couldn't have loved you anymore, the conversation we had this morning, like, you're just really, you radiate. And that's what I said to you on TV. I feel like you really are so authentic to who you are when you come across the TV. And that's really important to you, to maintain authenticity, right?
It is. I mean, our conversation could have gone for like 2 hours.
I know.
I think we were like 30 minutes. I was like, okay, I got to get to my workout class. But
yeah. Well, and it's so funny because you mentioned it. It's actually funny too, because for me, I don't really like being the one that gets interviewed. It's uncomfortable for me. Yeah. And it's interesting because that's kind of what we talked about. For you, how you've navigated your career, the story of your life is really fascinating. You grew up in Manhattan Beach. Mm-hmm. You did kind of an untraditional way to get into sports broadcasting. Yeah. But one of the things that I think is so important in our career, as someone, you mentor women as well, is maintaining curiosity. Why do you think you fell into this industry? Because you are such an innately curious human.
I am. It was so many different passions that I had just kind of growing up. I played soccer since I was 5 years old, softball, volleyball, swam, basically anything I could do. We grew up at the beach. You were always outside. You were always active. Summers in the ocean, on the sand. And I always loved sports. I loved the camaraderie of it. I loved the outlet of it. I loved everything about it. We grew up with season tickets to the Dodgers, so that was like my family time with my dad, and so like baseball had such a special place in my heart for so long. And then I ended up playing soccer in college, and while I was growing up, I was also doing theater. I loved performing. I loved diving into these different characters and just exuding them. So kind of middle school, high school, I did the whole theater, acting, extra work. It got really gnarly to where, like, I'm the oldest of 4 kids. My mom's like, I can't sit with you on set all day. Like, I can't do this. And you have to have someone there with you. I was like, okay. So then I tried to get into, I was doing theater in school. And it was right around the same time in high school, I had my advanced theater coach say, this has to be your varsity sport, so you have to pick. And I chose soccer. And then it was, my manager at the time was like, we want you to be homeschooled so you can go out and do all these auditions. And I was like, no, I want a normal, like, high school experience. I feel like there will be a point in my life where I will get back into the production world. I didn't know how or when or what, but I just loved production, whether it was theater, TV shows, on stage, huge events going to. So I stuck with soccer. Which, full story, came full circle back in 2019 when I got to cover the World Cup, which was the first time I ever got to cover soccer. But wait, let's go back to your original question, which was...
Well, I think I loved our conversation we had this morning because you had such an unconventional way. Like, so
Yeah.
for me, when I see you, I have a major girl crush because I'm like, she's totally owning her authentic self. She has the dream job.
Okay.
But what we talked about earlier today was like, you never anticipated that this would be where you would be. And I think a lot of young women look to you as inspiration, like, hey, I can do this too. So, like, today, I just kind of want to talk about Alex and like how you navigated this unconventional route, because I think for people at home, first of all, to be a sports broadcaster and to be female, it's hard. It's not easy. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. Typical broadcasters go a small market route. They moved to Nebraska or somewhere to kind of basically suck and fail. And you were cast. You had this really interesting climb through your career where what I'm really most impressed by is you didn't have a lot of room for failure, because you were fortunate that you did really well and you just maintained this upward trajectory throughout your career. You did Angels and you did the 2019 World Cup. That's got to be like the coolest thing ever. I mean, there's so much to talk about with you. So for me, let's start with like, did you feel a lot of pressure that you couldn't fail because of how quickly your career rose?
No, I did. The thing is, it may have seemed quick, but it wasn't at all. So let me just kind of give the background here. So obviously I did the theater and I did the soccer, and I was doing soccer in college, and I knew that I wanted to be in production. So after starting my freshman year, all of my summer breaks, spring breaks, winter breaks, I started working for a production company up in LA. And I was doing everything. I was a PA. I was like setting up red carpets. I was like going to get gaff tape. I was like walking people down the red carpet, and we did all the green room, press lounge, red carpets for all the major award shows in LA. I just loved being hands-on. I loved being around people. So while I was doing that, we were setting up the Championship Gaming Series, which was like professional video gaming on DirecTV. And I was a stage manager at that point. I think that was like around my sophomore, junior year. And I made friends with one of the producers, had no idea he was the main producer. And about a week before the show, he goes, "Hey, do you want to be our Mountain Dew hostess?" I was like, "What's that?" He's like, "Well," and then they kind of explained. I was like, "You going to pay me a little more?" He's like, "Sure, why not?" Next day, I just show up and go into hair and makeup. And that was kind of my first transition to the on-camera side of things. Did that for, I think it was 3 seasons, to the point where like I was down at San Diego State taking a final, would jump in my car, finish the final, drive up to LA, shoot the show, sleep, get back in my car, drive down to San Diego, take my final, get back in the car, drive back up to LA. So it was like I was hustling from a young age, just knowing what I wanted to do. So once that show ended, I was in a class, and this is where I was explaining to you, where you kind of had to say what you want to be. And I'd never said it out loud. And it was like, I want to be a TV host. I think I was like afraid of the failure from the very beginning, because when you're in acting, it's like, well, you're never going to be at the top. Like when I was doing that younger, I never got a lead role. I always played men. I never played a female in a play ever. And I acted for like 4 years. I was always a male character, which was hilarious. So there was always like that. If I say it, then it becomes real. But I had to say it in order to believe it, to then manifest it, to then make it happen. So once I wrote that paper, I had to say, what are all the steps you have to do to get there? And the first one was an internship. So I applied for E-News internship and Fuel TV. I ended up getting both, and I decided to choose the Fuel TV because I'm more of an action sports girl. I grew up snowboarding
at the beach.
At the beach. That felt more authentic to who I was. So I took that opportunity. And again, you're back getting coffee. You're back making coffees. It's my senior year of college. And I remember I walked in the first day and I was like, I want to be a TV host. And my producer was like, so does everybody else. So get in line. And it wasn't until towards the end of the internship that I got an opportunity to write a news flash, read it in front of the whole office, which I thought I completely failed and ended up being okay with. The next day I got invited to go on my first shoot, and I was supposed to write the script and all the questions for the host, who was a professional skateboarder who was interviewing Mike Blayback, who is a photographer who took the photo of the guy doing an ollie on a skateboard over the Great Wall of China. We ended up going to the shoot. I did all the research. The host never asked any of my questions. And so me just being curious by nature, he gets up, I just sit right down. I start looking at Mike. I start asking all my questions. Didn't know that the cameras were still rolling. The boom mic was still going. my producer was like, that was awesome. Do you want to go shoot the stand-up outside? I'm like, what's a stand-up? Sure, let's go figure it out. Did that for like 10 takes, and they ended up using it. And after that, they started actually letting me kind of fill in on the Fuel TV downloads. And that was kind of like my first on-camera opportunity. But then I had to go back to school for a extra semester. And that's when I was still kind of commuting back and forth. Once I graduated, I went to a hosting academy since I didn't study broadcast in college. And I was doing that. I was bartending at night, living at my parents', working as a field PA on Last Call with Carson Daly, working as a talent manager on ESPN X Games, like just anything I could. I was like, yes, I'll take it. I want to meet people. Yes, I'll do that. I want to be involved. And while I performed in a hosting showcase. This was like my other big, like, gotta get the tape. I performed in a showcase, and E! News was there, ended up picking up my little packet, called me in for an audition, and like 2 weeks later I was filling in on E! News Now. So like I had kind of I had the Fuel TV, I had the E! News Now, which, as you know, in the beginning, the tape is like very important if you want to get representation. And while I was bartending, I happened to meet my manager, who I convinced him to give me a shot and start sending my tape out. So I was sending him stuff like every week. And finally, after I got that tape, he's like, okay, I think you're ready. Help me get my agent. But even then, like, not much had happened, you know, still doing a bunch of the behind the scenes stuff. I worked behind the scenes for 5 years before I kind of got that big on camera opportunity. And the big on camera opportunity also came while I was bartending on like a random Wednesday afternoon. There were two guys at the bar. I was talking to one about how I really wanted the Canon 7D for my birthday, and this guy behind me just goes, I highly recommend the Canon 7D. I was like, okay, what do you do? He's like, I'm a producer at Fox Sports. I was like, no way, I want to start working at Fox Sports. He's like, that's very cool. I was like, well, great. He's like, usually I have people audition. I was like, even better, I got a show idea for you. And I pitched him a show idea. Had no idea he was a huge soccer fan. And my show was the Incredible Standouts in Major League Soccer. I was friends with Omar Gonzalez at the time, who had just won, I think he was like Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year on the Galaxy. So I pitched him this whole idea. Max Casanova, who I know both have like this connection with, which I'll get to in a second, which is so incredible. I pitched him the idea. He goes, do you have a script? I said, I can get you a script. Sure. Gave me his card. He goes, call me when you have a script. I call my manager. I'm like, send me every script that you have, because I've never written a script in my life. Sends me a bunch of scripts. I write the whole thing together, just kind of following the format. I'm like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what it's supposed to look like. Okay, I got this. I can do this. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I need like a big hitter, like what's going to sell this thing. And I'm on the phone again with my manager. He's like, hold on. My client on the other line, he's throwing out the first pitch at Yankees. I was like, ooh. He gets back on the line. I'm like, do you know anyone at Dodger Stadium? Can we get Omar to throw out the first pitch at Dodger Stadium? He's like, I think I do. So we got that in. I put it in the script. I call Max. I pitch the script to him. He loves it. He goes, I'll shoot the pilot for free. We end up shooting the pilot. And he was waiting to hear from a special someone if she was going to be able to go cover the World University Games in China, which is you. And you had another job opportunity come up. So he invited me to go to China.
Just lose you. Oh my God.
I got
that was like the climax of the story. My Instagram only allows me to use for like 30 minutes. So I have to I forget the settings are on because I'm trying to limit my app use. Apologies. So it just tried to shut us off. Thank God I caught it. Anyways, I'm sorry. So keep going. Keep going.
Where did you lose? Where did I lose you at?
Just 1 second ago.
So did I get the part where Max was waiting to see if you could go to China? You had another work opportunity.
Yes.
So 2 days after he shot my pilot, he called me, asked me if I would go to China to cover the World University Games for Fox College Sports. And that was kind of my first big break.
Yeah.
So you played such a huge role that you had no idea in my life, in my career. And we've never gotten to talk about that or share that. And I've always, like, since that, I was like, oh my gosh, who's Erin? And I've followed your journey ever since that moment.
Gosh. Well, so many things about you stand out to me. First of all, first and foremost, thank you. Like, I've actually never met you. I've always admired your ability to connect so deeply with the audience, your authenticity. So many women love your work. Like, and I love hearing other women support other women. But then the other component of your career is what I love about it is the non-traditional. So take, for instance, girls or guys that maybe can't afford to go to a journalism school. There is a way to pursue your dreams without having to go necessarily the traditional route. And I think a lot of women and men, but you're a big inspiration for that. And then here's the other component is the yes and. Like you did improv.
Yeah.
So what I from you right now was maybe you didn't necessarily know what the end career trajectory was going to be, but you followed your heart and you knew that you loved people. You knew that you were curious and you knew that you were a big sports person. And every step of the way you listened to your gut. And now here you are, like, navigating such a rad career. You're all over Fox Sports. And what I really gravitated towards our conversation today was our similarities in that we didn't really have a female mentor. And how powerful it would have been for us. And don't get me wrong, a lot of amazing men helped probably you as well, but like helped me get along where I'm at today. And I'm so grateful for that. But what I'm starting to see and what I've heard from you today was how important it is for you to help other women get to where you are today. Because there is that is a superpower to me, to be able to stand in solidarity with other women who are trying to make a difference. Because like it really, I see how engaged you are with the audience. And I think when we have representation, when I see Alex Curry doing this, I then believe I can do it too.
Yeah.
Right?
It's crazy because when we both started out, like 10, 11 years ago, it was very much, there was like one role, one position for a woman. And I don't know if they meant to, but it was a lot of like me or you in the very beginning. And I never understood that. I grew up in an all-female family. I have 3 little sisters. I have 10 girl cousins on my dad's side. I have 8 girl cousins on my mom's side. So I grew up all around just super strong, powerful female, and including my mom, who is like the most inspiring woman of them all. So I never really understood the why can't we all do this together? And I think the fact that I didn't accept that and I didn't understand that, I knew that there was room for change. And I knew that we could all support each other and we could all be each other's sisters in this together, being as I've always been the big sister with all of my younger sisters. But it's just, it's so much better for all of us. And there is room for all of us when we support each other. And because I didn't necessarily have that female support in the beginning of my career from another woman in the industry, don't get me wrong, like I would ask, like I would like kind of meet a couple women here and there and I'd ask them advice and they would help and they would give me, bits of advice. But I didn't have that one person that I could call, I could ask all the questions. What am I going through? What does this mean? What do I do with this? A big sister.
Yes.
Anything.
Yes.
So I made it a point early on in my career that if there was a young female in the industry who got the strength and courage to come up and talk to me and wanted to show me her stuff, I was going to take them on and I was going to help them. And whatever you need, I'm here for you. I'll talk to you just as long as it's not like 15 minutes before I'm about to go live. Like, give me a moment there. But other than that, I just think it's so important. It's so important to be here for one another and support one another because there is room. There is room for all of us.
There is. And by the way, you speak so highly of Joy Taylor.
Yes,
we were on the phone. Yeah, Joy Taylor. And like, I hope I get to get her on one of these days because I agree. I think she's absolutely wonderful. But I agree with you. And for people who are tuning in, our industry, because traditionally it was a very male, and it still is, male-dominated industry, the seats at the male-dominated table were so limited
Yeah.
That women who came into the fold because there was only 1 or 2 seats at that production table, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
That when a new female came into the fold or a new female came into the network or into the group or whatever, there was this sense of competition that she was going to take the job. And that's not really, and I think I'll give space to women who may have been that way, because she's just trying to essentially survive.
Yeah.
But you're right. As the woman who's come into the fold and has embraced other women, you like exactly what you said is so true. There is room for all of us. And it's the system, right? It's the system. And, women are just trying to represent and make a difference. And so that's why I'm like, I love what you're doing. It's so impressive to me because you are the big sister. Like you are like, hey, let me take you under my wing. And you found the perfect job. And your life is such a great story for inspiring young women because you maybe didn't know exactly what you were going to do, but you followed your heart. And you see that on TV. Like you're just doing the thing. You know what I mean?
It's so crazy because everyone would be like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I'm like, I don't know. I really like what I'm doing right now. And I'm really trying to be present and be the best of where I can be right now. I can tell you what I want to do in a couple years. And I've made throughout my career, it's like, after each thing I did, it's like, okay, I want to do this next. And I want to do this next. And I kind of started manifesting. Like I got really into manifesting. So I started out just doing Angels Weekly, which was like the magazine show. So it was all pre-taped and it was stand-ups and features and it was super fun and it was great. And then it was like, oh, I want to do like live. Like maybe I could try Sideline. And so I got to fill in for like one day. So I started in 2012 with the Angels. And then in 2013, I got to fill in one day as a sideline reporter in May. And it just so happened that was the one day that Mike Trout hit for the cycle. And I got that walk-off interview, this like crazy moment. I was like, that was really cool. That was rad. I kind of get to be a part of this energy and the liaison between the players and the audience. Oh, this is a whole new exciting energy. I want to do Sideline. And so then in 2014, I got the full-time Sideline job with the Kings and the Angels. And that was so fun. I got to do that for a couple of years. And then it was like, I want to host. I want to be at the desk. That was really fun too. And then I got to do that and I got to do opening day with the Angels. And I kind of slowly got into that side and they were working with me. And then World Cup was coming around. I was like, I really want to be involved in the World Cup. I'm going to be involved in the World Cup. And I just started kind of talking it into existence in like 2017, 2018. Wow. Did not have the job at all. Oh my God. Not even close. I was like, who do I need to meet to go like make this happen? Who do I need to meet? And I just started like going in, introducing myself to people and just saying, I want to be here. I want to do this. And I feel like if you're so confident sometimes in what you want and just passionate about it, people feed off of that. And I ended up becoming the U.S. embedded reporter for Fox Sports for the Women's World Cup. And they won the World Cup. And it was just like, this was insane.
Wow.
So then after that happened, that was 2019, I was like, I really want to be in studio. I have never been in studio before. Like, never read a prompter. Like, I don't know how to do these things. Like, that's the next step of my career. I want to do this. I want to be in studio. I feel like this could be fun. And so I started manifesting that back in 2019. And then 2021.
Now. I mean, it's like you're all over Fox Sports. And one of the things that I was like, I just fell in love with you was like, what's a stand-up? You're someone that is willing to be fearless. And you mentioned just follow your passion. And I love that because I think when we're young, we're kids, we're supposed to figure it out. We're going to be the astronaut. We're going to be the firefighter. But if you just, and this is the part that's really hard, is you just listen to when you feel at your most content. And when I picked up the phone and I called you this morning and I had my little tiny espresso and you maybe had your little tiny espresso, I was like, heart, this is love, this is great, this is why I love this, what we're doing here. And you totally admit that. in your life, and you really are so generous with your heart. And you really are the big sister, and I've already taken up way too much of your time. But really quickly, a couple of things. How do you handle, for young people that are tuning in, maybe want to do what you do?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that as young people getting older, we feel a lot of pressure. So how do you, and you could be in a more pressure-filled industry other than the athletes that you cover, how do you handle pressure? What do you, like you really do it so well. What is the thing? How do you handle pressure?
I think the biggest thing is making sure that your energy and your mindset is where you need it to be. Because that's the most important thing. I am so cautious of my energy and who I'm around and what I do every day to get my mind in the right place. I am always way over prepared, like night before, a week before. I do all my prep night before just so I can wake up in the morning. These are my afternoon shows. Mornings are a little different, but I have to do things to keep my mind and my body in a really happy place. And for me, that's waking up, spending 10 minutes cuddling on my puppies, because that brings me so much happiness. I make my espresso. I go sit in my little reading nook. I read the Daily Stoic every day, just kind of get my mind right. Then I get ready to go to my workout. I have to sweat every day because that's a part of my therapy and helps me get everything out. I come back, I make myself a little gluten-free breakfast sando, and I get ready and I go to work. And it's because I took that time for me, and I was not only prepared, but I'm centered, I am happy, I am energetically in a great place. That is the most important part, is being selfish of your energy and taking care of you so you're able to give other people what they need and what they want. And the thing was, is I never really got nervous in front of the camera. That was something that I was like, oh, this works because I love this. I feel like if there's any nerves, it's like the 3, 2, and then the moment the one hits and the light's on, I'm like, oh, this is where I'm meant to be. This feels really fun. Because the whole thing is it's entertainment and it's fun. And these people at home are inviting you into their home. And so you got to think about it like you're hanging out on the couch with them. You're having a good time. We're talking about a game a lot of the time. We're talking about adults making millions of dollars playing a game, which is really fun and so cool. But you got to put that into perspective too and have fun with it and make the most of it. And I feel so blessed and lucky to end up where I did. Literally had no idea, in the very beginning, this is where it would end up and be. I would actually love, because I auditioned for all of the networks, way back in the day in 2012 and 2013, that footage of little Curry not knowing how to read a teleprompter would be some really funny stuff. Really funny stuff. I was not good. And that's the other thing, too. Admit when you don't know what you're doing. Admit when you're wrong, and ask for help. It's okay to ask for help and to ask for advice and practice and be prepared and be happy.
And celebrate who you are. And I just, we don't even have time to get into what we were discussing about, the challenges of our industry and the nervous system and trying to show up for everybody that's asking for everything around us. But someone was saying you're giving great advice, and it's true. If you're not taking care of yourself first, putting your oxygen mask on first, really prioritizing the energy that you are encompassing, and the powerful point of it all is you get to choose the energy you want around you, so that when you are in an environment that life stuff's happening and the teleprompter's going down, to be able to juggle what you had to go through this past week and just kind of being thrown to all of these different dynamics and then handling them like no one would have known any kind of, to me, I think is really one of the coolest things. And I just can't thank you enough for your time, because you are so busy and you gave me 30 minutes of your time. And I am in such deep admiration for the joy you are giving a lot of people, especially right now, because the pandemic's been tough. And you're absolutely right. It is time to smile. It is time to celebrate. And it is time to be joyful, because we've been through a tough time. So I appreciate you, sis. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, love. And let me just give one bit for everybody. This is what I came up with during the pandemic. Every day you wake up, say 3 things that you're grateful for. It doesn't have to be big things, little things. Every single day during the pandemic, I would just sit down. I'd write down 3 things. Sometimes it would be like, I'm grateful for my window that I get to look out and see the trees.
Wow.
I am grateful for my slippers because they keep my feet warm. It's just like little things, just finding gratitude in every little part of life is only going to build that happy within your life.
The more you can be grateful for the small things, like you just said, like the fact that you have slippers and they keep your feet warm. It's so much better to live a life where you're like, oh my God, look at that little squirrel, or whatever the thing is, makes the big celebrations and the abundance come into your life. And I cannot say, like, you really embody gratitude, and I see that, and we see that, and you inspire not only, you know, the veterans in our business, but the young ones that want to be like you. And we need more Alex Currys. We just do. So,
thanks.
Thank you for your time. I know you gotta go off to work, but I hope I get to like hang out with you and
let's do like coffee, lunch, dinner.
Yes.
Let's hang out.
Yes, done. But just keep being you. You're such an inspiration, and thank you again for the time.
Of course, love. Thank you.
All right. Bye. Thanks, Alex.